Hello kiddos, it's FANzine Live, it's Tom, and we are doing yet another look at one of the CXC, or Cartoon Crossroads Columbus, cartoonists, this one being Emily Cheeseman, who has a zine called The Witch of the Wick. It's a quarter-page zine, saddle-stitched, printed on risograph. From 2024, printed on a Riso SF5130 digital duplicator. And Riso is a really fascinating technology to me. I can't say that I understand it as well as I could or perhaps should, but it's a really neat way to throw that third color, and I say third beyond black and white, to throw that third color into your zines. So I don't know if Emily owns a zine or owns a Riso printer or is using one and just wanted to show that element out. But you can see she's got this kind of bright pinkish orange that she uses, and she'll use it throughout the zine. Really impressive. The other thing that I find impressive is just the quality of the duplication. This is not a photocopied zine in the standard sense of going to like a Xerox type photocopier. This Riso printer gives a feel of being more of an offset printer. And also, let's see if we can get up nice and tight, the grayscaling on this stuff, because she's doing it digitally, the grayscaling is fantastic. And it's like that throughout. You can see the individual dots in the grayscales. Just incredible. So clearly Emily is a talented artist. Knows where to put color in, for the glow of the lamp, the color of the hair. Doing a inside front cover, the title page with no black. Doing it only with the orange. Nice touch. Nice touch of using the consistent typesetting. Really knows what she's doing. And I'm not going to read this to you, but I can tell you that there's an element of kind of high fantasy to it. And you've got this one character looming in the darkness of the wood, it says. But you can see here, and again, I'm trying to make sure you get the image. You've got everything is done in digital dots. I don't know as there are, at least on this spread, there literally is no solid black. Even the ones that look like solid blacks are dots. And so she's done just incredible work pulling this off. This guy is the Witch's Shadow. But it's just fantastic, gorgeous work. Now, it is interesting. I'm going to come back up to here. You can see even the lettering is done with shading dots. I'm not sure that was the best way to go. I probably would have done the text itself in solid black. Now you got some solids here. But look at the orange there. Perfect for the sun. Perfect for the candlelight. Perfect for the glowing eyes. This is really cool. Love the shadowing because you got the light coming through. Just gorgeous. A little bit more of a solid orange there. The shading gives sort of a, what's the right word? Like an ethereal type feel to the imagery. You notice that I don't think pretty much anywhere here you have standard squared off panels. Everything kind of winds along, very much of a fairy tale type of story. I mean, this is about as close as you get to a standard thing, but even there, the line continues along, and the border between the panels is really non-existent. Just neat. Very, very cool. So yeah, really glad I read this one. Really glad I picked this one up. And Emily Cheeseman is one talented artist. So there you go, The Witch of the Wick. Very highly recommended. She did leave a website in here, so I will put that in the show notes in case you want to get your own copy. Let's take a look at some more. Next up, we are taking a look at Mary Farfisa by a gentleman who we've looked at before, Jim Cheff. Jim sent me his latest, these 3 zines, and I'm just so taken with his work that I want to make sure that we give it as much amplification as we can. As you can tell, Jim is doing children's zines. And when I say that, I'm really talking about the constructs of a children's book, a bedtime story type of book for a parent to read to a very young child, like a toddler. But he does it his way, and he does it through the format of a zine. Again, I can't tell if these zines are printed at home. I'm seeing some of the lines that suggest we're talking about at least the originals before going to a photocopier being done on an inkjet. But it looks great. And he starts with Mary Farfisa. This is the first issue called Word Jamming. And then he goes into a 2-parter of, what's it called here? The Sound Stealer. Yeah, Bata. We looked at Bata before. So I'm going to put these 2 aside, and we'll talk about that in a second. But we will look right now at Mary Farfisa, because this is a short one. It's every single issue is done fully in cardstock. It's saddle stitch, 2 staples. I like having cardstock throughout. It's a really thoughtful thing for little kids. Makes it harder for those little fingers to tear the paper. And if they start wrinkling it, it's hard to damage a book like this. I used to have, for my kids, a bunch of board books, the ones that have like hard, almost like a chipboard type of book. And those worked out really nice for me, but obviously that's a lot more expensive. It's not quite so expensive, though, to just put on a nice cardstock. And so he prints everything on cardstock all the way through his interiors and the cover so that the little kids can grab on easier and that they can turn the pages and not tear them to shreds. So this actually is a nice touch there. He also, you can see, is doing a lot of cutting. He is doing full bleeds on these things in full color, and it is gorgeous. He also has podcasts that he is linking through QR codes, which is another nice touch. So you can have this. I have not listened to the podcast, I will admit, but I don't know if it's a read along or if it's accompanying music or just information in general, but you can see that Mary is listening to something. And this is all word jamming and very simple, standard comic formatting, comic strip formatting, 4 6-page panels. I want to have someone to play with. Hey, whoa, I'll be right back. I got my electric. We can jam. Hey, he's really good too. I'll be right back. I got my bass. Then the frog steals the bass. Wow, wait right there. And now they're all playing. She's playing a bassoon. And then, of course, you got the dancing bug over here. Yeah, the radio adventures. There's a whole show that he's got going on. it's great. I just think this is just wonderful stuff. So this is the first one, and it's just kind of an introduction to this character of Mary Farfisa, who is a musician. I presume that she's at least humanoid. I don't know if she's a robot or what, but I don't think it really matters. So that's Mary Farfisa. Then these two are a two-part story, and it's about the... Here, I'll put that off to the side. It's about the going to this planet of Bazorabil, and Chef does a great job just putting in all these nonsense names, and I can just see a little kid just giggling over nonsense names. You know, the prehistoric Frouch Pin, the irritated Bunder Smuppy. I mean, just silly stuff that little kids love. A rambunctious finger bling and all the noises. But anyway, all the noises, they all get sucked up and by this creature. And he's doing it because the queen makes him do it, and they want to have the noises so they can play their music. And so by the end of it, the noises go flying out this creature's nose. But wow, look at that artwork. Isn't that neat? Then in this one, they go and they visit the queen, who is made of nothing but ears, and the noises hurt her ears. And so they have to come up with how do they fix that problem. And she gets a very big hat to cover up her ears. So again, very cool. I love this stuff. Jim is doing wonderful work out there in Arizona, and I am happy to help share it. If you want to share your zines, there will be information at the end of the show about it. Of course, there will be Mary Farfisa, or at least Jim Cheff's Etsy store linked as well in the show notes. Mary Farfisa, cute stuff. If you've got little kids or nieces or nephews or grandchildren, probably worth taking a look at this. And our last selection today for new releases is Keith Newsome, who, of course, you will recognize from Strange Times 6, which I put out, but also he did some really great work for, I think he did a Tetragrammaton Fragments newsletter cover for the United Fanzine organization. He's done a few things, and of course he's done some issues of Strange Times with me. Keith is an accomplished artist. I think we kind of established that in Strange Times, but he has come to work now with a publisher named, I believe, Eugene Lane. October Harvest is the publishing label. Keith is using his art skills to present his Godsent series. And I'm going to push this over to the side. Here's the Godsent foursome of Christian-based superheroes. So we're not going to go deep into what each of the characters is and what they do and all that. I just wanted to let you know that this is kind of the thing that this October Harvest is going to be publishing. And so what Keith has decided to do is make a prelude zine, comic zine, for each of his four members of Godsent. So you've got Mark's story here and Clotine's story here. I presume there are two more coming. These are the two that he gave me to take a look at. And so these are the backstories on these characters. A nice way to be able to tell the story of the heroes, give each of them their due. These are multiple page, I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 times 4. This is a 28 page zine. So, I mean, he gets some space to really tell the story of, in this case, Mark, and in this case, Clotine. So getting into it, the premises I'm now understanding it with Godsent is each of these characters has gone through a trauma, and as a result, they die. And so they then come back apparently as a superhero type character, but we'll see that that's not really the point of these zines. We'll start with Mark's story. You can see emergency 911. Mark apparently is an EMT. They immediately start with a Columbus, Ohio, 2020, Columbus paramedics. Keith does some really neat stuff with the artwork. It really looks to me like he's using his Procreate to do versions of recreations of maybe photos even, because gosh, that looks realistic. And it's a neat way of doing it. He also is very big in this black and white interiors of using the Procreate brushes to do shading at a level that you're normally not used to seeing. And doing some flares for the lights and stuff like that. So anyway, point of this is that there's this African-American character who's got his buddy. They're both EMTs, and they're going off saving the city of Columbus, Ohio. Ambulance looks pretty good. Characters look pretty good. They have a nice conversation. And in this case, they come across a drug house where everybody is, and I believe it's fentanyl fentanyl, that they've got a real tragedy on their hands. And sadly, this was a fentanyl lab, as you can see here. And the one person who was awake and perhaps alive passes out, breaks the table. The fentanyl goes flying everywhere. And the African-American character, who I am presuming is Mark, he collapses. And they take him to the hospital. And he discovers that not only did they take everybody to the hospital, they took him to the hospital, and he's discovering that he's actually dead, and that this character at this point is now his ghost. And as you can see, Keith even does that. And then it closes out with Mark, come. And so we'll see what happens with that. And then coming soon, Godsent, the first issue. Neat looking cover. You can do some really good stuff these days with digital artwork. Then, okay, Clotine's story. She is working at a public safety communications call center, it says. And this is a bit of a challenge. I mean, again, the shading is really cool. I love how he's doing that. But the challenge, of course, is if you're working in a call center, how do you make the story interesting? Because basically you're having people talking on the phone to each other. And he does it really well by focusing on different parts of the body. Obviously the mouth is a big thing, but you can see throwing in the fingers. This person's tearing at his shirt. We're angry, we've got a gun. And he goes back and forth, and he's basically doing, or this Clotine is doing a crisis hotline call. And it's really powerful stuff. And then it appears somewhere around here, about right here, he changes the font. Oh, and I love the font. Much better on this issue than on this issue. You can see there's a difference. It's kind of almost a Comic Sans type of font in that one. In this one, he goes to a more traditional comic book style, superhero comic style lettering font, and it works well. But when he has it appears that there's like a demon or something within this character, Tony, that she's been on the phone with. And she starts having dialogue with that guy. And it's nice that he switches out the font so you have a true understanding of what's going on. And then, they're going back and forth, and it's a tense moment. And sadly, this Tony character finds his way into the call center, and the woman passed away from her head wound. So that's that. And now Clothine has to come. These are both very vivid, very realistic, and, if you will, very violent pieces. I will find it interesting to see how, coming out of this, these really gruesome stories, how these characters move on to become superheroes and the types of stories they will have told. It's good stuff. Keith does a good job. He tells a good story. It just is a fascinating profile of some really tough environments told with gorgeous art. So, Keith Newsome's Godsent. That's it for now. Thank you for watching FANzine Live. I will have information on this in the show notes, as well as everything else that we've discussed today. So Godsent, Mark's story, Clothine's story. That's it. I thank you so much for watching. And as always, I will catch you next time.